Hello, this is my input review slides. I'll be talking about direct versus indirect input, device acquisition, and homing time. So difference between direct versus indirect. Indirect input, you're interacting with your output device directly with no intermediary in between. So you're directly applying your input onto your output device. Some examples is like the touch screen where you're directly applying your finger, or like an Apple Pen where you're applying the tip of the pen onto your iPad or some type of device. Indirect input is where you're interacting with an intermediary, and that intermediary then causes the output to change. So good examples of this is like a mouse or a game controller. So on the left side or the left picture, we can see someone using a mouse. And as the red arrow indicates, if you move your intermediary, which is the mouse, to the right, it will cause your output or the cursor to also move to the right. And on the right side, we can see an example of direct input, where a person is directly applying their finger to their output device, selecting Microsoft Outlook or whatever that purple thing is. So which exactly is better? So some pros and cons for direct is fundamentally more natural. What I mean by natural, like the professor says, is it's as if or pretend, for example, you're trying to draw something on your screen. Drawing something on your screen with an Apple Pen, directly applying it onto the screen, seems more natural than drawing it away from your screen with an intermediary such as a mouse. So it's fundamentally more natural. And some other cons that I added was that it takes less space. Rather than needing enough desk space for a mouse and a laptop, you can just have enough desk space for your laptop. And another pro, depending on your use, another pro is that there is no intermediary. So that could be a pro. Some cons is going to be occlusion and usability issues. So occlusion is basically where while you're interacting with your device or giving a direct input, you're blocking your screen with like the rest of your arm or something. And with that comes with usability issues where you might inadvertently use your device with your elbow or something. The professor showed a video of some people working around that. You could check that out on the lecture video. So indirect pros and cons, the professor didn't directly mention this, but basically it's the exact opposite of direct, where you won't have any issues that the direct has, where there's going to be occlusion, where there is going to be no occlusion, because if you're using intermediary, you're using it away from your output device. And some cons is that there's going to be a learning curve. You have to learn how to use your intermediary before you're able to actually control your output. And with that, you also have to be able to translate like the intermediary device to your output, or whatever you do to your intermediary device to the output. So moving on to the next topic, we have acquisition and homing time. So acquisition time is the average amount of time to move one's hand from your original position to get a hold of a device. And homing time is going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be the average amount of time to move from device back to the original home position. So this is more easily seen with an example, like in this GIF that I posted on the slide. So here, pretend the original position is going to be on the keyboard, or both hands on the keyboard. So we want to acquire the mouse or start using the mouse. So the acquisition time is going to be an average amount of time to move from the keyboard to the mouse. And homing time is going to be the average amount of time to move from the mouse back to the keyboard. So this parameter is especially important for frequent switching situations. So especially if you're going to be using a computer, you're going to be constantly switching back and forth between your mouse and keyboard to make full use of your computer. And you want it to be fast. Otherwise, it's going to be inefficient. So one other example we could look at to show how some things are more efficient than others is the use of a watch versus the use of your phone to check time. So with the watch, you can see the man on the left easily flick his wrist and glance down, and he acquires the time in a short amount of time, compared to the person on the right, where the amount of time to acquire, or the acquisition time for your phone is the time it takes to take out your phone from your pocket, flip it over and turn it on and wait for the time to pop up. So these acquisition and homing times, they vary from product to product, and you can see how like the watch is not obsolete yet because of iPhones or something. Yeah, and that is all I have. Thank you.